Okay, here's another part of my collection of flags from all over the world, just about, and this is the second part of my British Isles series, and this is still under the federal jurisdiction of Great Britain, but they are their own country in itself. This is the Isle of Man. Actually, they're called a Crown Protectorate. So they have their local autonomy, but they're still under, the umbrella of the, British Kingdom of the Crown. I would say Her Majesty. Now it's His Majesty. So I'm still getting used to having a king and not a queen now. And this is the Isle of Man, and I could take a ferry from Liverpool. But it leaves at 0 dark in the morning. I check the schedule, but again, if I had the means or the opportunity, I would jump on that chance. And I looked. I believe the main city is Douglas, or actually they're more like towns, and not a big population. They have their own language called the Manx language, which is nearly extinct, but the locals at this point in time, they're doing their best to preserve it. So, if I was there, maybe I'd try to get a Manx phrase book slash, dictionary just for giggles. And, my hobby is also foreign languages. And, I'm not going to be aspiring to learn it fluently, but it's nice to know a little tidbit here and there. It's a Celtic language. And very much like, if I'm correct, kind of like Welsh or Cornish. Those old Celtic languages. It's a unique flag. Kind of gives me a that vibe of what's that movie that came out in Great Britain? The Wicker Man, where they're a world in their own. And now, the other island, the big island across from Great Britain, and still under the federal jurisdiction of Great Britain. This is Northern Ireland, a very big bone of contention, in the Western world, especially the United Kingdom at the time. And it's relatively peaceful now. I actually thought about taking the ferry across to Belfast, if that opportunity arose. And so this is pretty much the design is like the St. George's flag, but it has the star, the crown, the hand. I wonder if that's to assert the authority of Great Britain. And there's been a clash between Irish Protestants, who they are pretty much loyal to the British Crown. They wanted to remain within the British Crown. And then the Catholic Irish. And I believe it's more about political allegiances than, religious ideology. At least that's my take on it. And of course, they had a time during, through the 60s, 70s, the 80s. It was called the Troubles. And the band called the Cranberries made a song called Zombie. And it's not intense now. You can take a Troubles tour, from what I gather. If I was to hypothetically visit Northern Ireland, I would definitely jump on that, just to learn a little something and, see something with historical significance. And I don't have a bias either way, not to sound, like I'm indifferent to the plight and the strife of, what went on in that area, but I don't have a dog in that fight. Because I'm not Irish, ethnically. Okay, and this is not under the jurisdiction of Great Britain. This is the Republic of Ireland. Once you go south of Northern Ireland, they got their independence about, give or take, 100 years ago. I saw a movie about it that showed Bloody Sunday. Very disheartening. So here is the Republic of Ireland. So once you go in there, you're under pretty much an EU. They're a member of the European Union, so they don't use the Irish pounds anymore like when I was a kid. My parents went there on a business trip slash conference when I was still a teenager, and they both loved it, but they said that they had some gifts that they brought for someone stolen from their room, which is pretty sad. And it looks like the people that handled the rooms had sticky fingers. So that's sad. Hopefully that doesn't happen if I make it to Ireland. And and there's a direct ferry boat that goes from the coast of Wales, to and from Ireland to Dublin. And Dublin is a given. Also the home city of Thin Lizzy founder Phil Lynott. Green, red, so Irish gangs like to rock these colors in beads and bracelets. But no, there's nothing wrong with having pride in your heritage and culture. They've had a long history of, being repressed. The Celtic language, or what's it, Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, was nearly, eradicated. Okay, and here we go. And this is a very, very far away territory. I'm probably closer to it than they are in Britain proper. And this is the island, or this is the Falkland Islands, right off the coast of Argentina. And culturally and linguistically, it's just like a little piece of Britain, or the English rural town, just detached from Father Britain himself of the UK. And this is where they had the Falklands War in 1982. Argentina, to do some flexing for their population, and they wanted to dominate the southern hemisphere around South America. And to assert that dominance, they invaded the Falklands and tried to take it over and failed miserably. And of course, you didn't have someone like Keir Starmer. He would have probably let him have it, but back then it was the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, and she let him know as clear as a bell that no, they're not having it. No, this is our turf, and you better back off. And the Royal Navy, Royal Army, they're Royal Marines. They're very competent. Even when I was in the military, I kind of, they looked more professional than us, better put together than we did when I was in the American military. Desire the right. And they could explain that better than I can. But, just like a typical territorial flag or colonial flag, there's the Union Jack in the corner, and then there's the crest of whatever that overseas territory and holding is. And I got Canadian flags like that, the provincial Canadian flags where they have that, and then it's a blue or red field, and then whatever represents that particular part of the country. And the Australian flag and New Zealand flag, they have different stars. So again, thanks to my friend Simon, a good while back, he mailed this to me as a gift and threw in another one, which you'll see later. And the material is excellent. Yeah, the material looks like it's been well crafted. Okay, over and out for the British flags, and if I add any more, like the Channel Islands, knock on wood, I'll show those too. Okay, over and out.